Hey guys, this is your host Thomas Tyree here from On the Hot Podcast. Today, this could be the Combat Series episode number 109 for you guys today. We're going to kick things off discussing the sport of boxing, what transpired in women's boxing on Friday night between Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano. It was Katie Taylor who successfully retained her super lightweight titles, defeating Amanda Serrano by majority decision Friday night in the sport of boxing. So I'll be discussing my thoughts on the fight and the trilogy that has came and gone between Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano. So at the end of the day, I am proud of what both Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano have done for women's boxing and what they have done in the three fights in the sport of boxing, for the sport of boxing. They put women's boxing back on the map. Just like the men, there are some badass women that continuously put their bodies, their careers, they put it all on the line in the sport of boxing to entertain us. And that's what Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano have done in the three respective fights. This third fight was very close, but I think the clear winner was Katie Taylor here. And I know for a lot of people, the third fight was not as entertaining as the first two fights. The first two fights were toe-to-toe wars, but this one was a little different. You've seen boxing IQs on full display. You've seen more defensive moments in the third fight compared to the first and second fight. I think those two respective fights took a lot out of these respective women, but Katie Taylor just landed the cleaner punches. She landed the more cleaner counter punches, which wowed the judges for her to get the majority decision. And both ladies only scored 70 punches total in this third and final fight. But it was Katie Taylor that landed the cleaner shots. At times, Amanda Serrano was punching the air, and she tried to look like she was being the more busier fighter. But at the end of the day, you got to land punches and not throw punches in the air to wow the judges. And she didn't do enough to take the titles away from the champion. In very close fights in the sport of boxing, when you leave it in the judges' hands, you have to do something that makes us believe that Amanda Serrano did enough to win the titles. And I'm sitting there thinking, round 9, round 10, I was like, as close as this fight is, it could go either way. But if Amanda doesn't pull off something special in the last 2 rounds, she's going to lose the fight. And quite frankly, she did lose the final 2 rounds in the championship rounds of this trilogy fight between herself and Katie Taylor. So I think this is the right call. I think Katie Taylor had the more smarter approach in this fight between herself and Amanda Serrano, because her corner in the first 2 fights and her promoter, Eddie Hearns, even said, don't fight fire with Amanda Serrano, who is a powerful puncher that could translate her weight up and down weight classes in the sport of boxing. But Katie Taylor said, fuck it, I'm going to do it for the fans. I'm going to give them the fight that they want to see, toe-to-toe battles. But this time, Katie Taylor was smarter in her approach, and she won the counter-punching battle. And again, the cleaner punches and the more impactful punches is the reason why she got her hand raised in the trilogy over Amanda Serrano. But I thought it was smart for her to fight off the back foot. She found a lot of success doing that. And the time she did fight in the inside, which really wasn't a lot, because both women were very mindful of what they were doing in this third fight, she made the best out of it and landed the counter punches and made a lot of people believe that she clearly won this fight. I'm not sure what the game plan was this time for Amanda Serrano, because when you think about this fight, as they really should have took the... I know the first fight is very controversial. I think Amanda won the first fight, and I stand on Amanda winning the second fight. If any game plan that you should have had for Katie, you should have used what you did in that second fight, minus the accidental headbutt, to your advantage in this fight. Because remember, the first 4 rounds of Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano was putting it on Katie Taylor, establishing the power. It looked like she could have scored a knockdown, and Katie Taylor was gasping for air, breathing hard, and she was at a disadvantage. But this third fight, I'm like, why did the corner go with this approach of you walking down Katie Taylor? Yes, but you're not being as aggressive. You're just throwing 1-2 combinations in the air to make it look like you're being more busy. When I'm watching on the television, knowing damn well these punches, most of the punches that you throw, because you've thrown over 250 punches. I might be wrong on that, but she did throw a lot of punches. None of these are really connecting or make us believe that you can swing the fight in your favor as close as this one was. You can't do that thinking you're the busier fighter punching air and not connecting on shots to make us believe that you did enough to take the titles away from Katie Taylor. So I thought that game plan was very silly. Amanda's corner should be very frustrated at the game plan that they put out, because she did have a fair opportunity to at least win one of the fights in this trilogy. But I thought Amanda should have been way more aggressive. It really should have fought more in the inside. And at times you've seen her fighting on the outside. And I know that's not Amanda Serrano's game. Failed to land more than 50 power punches as well. Again, the game plan from the second fight should have been on full display for this fight, because the power punches were getting to Katie Taylor and disrupting her in the second fight. Fighting on the outside is not her style. So something was definitely wrong. But moving forward, Katie Taylor has to be very proud of her resume. And we don't know how many more fights she has left. She might have one more or decide to hang it up. But her resume right now, she has 25 victories, 1 loss. She is a 2-time undisputed champion in 2 different weight classes. 3-0 against Amanda Serrano. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter what I say. Like I just said, I think the first fight, Amanda won. I think the second fight, Amanda won. Third fight, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, the records are going to always show that Katie Taylor is up 3-0 on Amanda Serrano in the trilogy. And by the looks of it, we don't need a 4th fight. So that's a hard pill to swallow for Amanda Serrano at night to think about when you think about these trilogies that you had in your boxing career. But for that's like a tongue tie. For Katie Taylor's standpoint, 3 victories against Amanda Serrano, one of the greatest women boxers of all time, is impressive. She has defeated Chantel Cameron, gave Chantel Cameron her only loss. She defeated Natasha Jones, Delphine Persoon, and several others in her illustrious Hall of Fame career. She's also Olympic gold medalist that she won in 2012 as well. So I know a lot of people love themselves some Clarissa Shields, but I personally think that Katie Taylor has stamped herself as the best women's boxer in the modern era based off of the names I just said. Clarissa Shields has the accomplishments, but other than Savannah Marshall, what is her known victory of her boxing career if you're a casual thinking about that? So again, I think Katie Taylor, you have to say she's number 1 on your women's pound for pound list from the names I just said, and defeating Amanda Serrano, giving Amanda Serrano 3 out of her 4 losses. That's insane. Speaks volumes. But before I end the segment, I'll go over a few more things. But I just want to give a shout out to Jake Paul. Whether you like him, you hate him, how you feel about him and his boxing career, how it's went, you got to give him all the credit in the world being a promoter for Most Valuable Promotions, because he's putting on shows. He's putting on clinics for, in terms of clinics, I mean entertainment standpoints. He's built strong cards. The atmosphere and the atmosphere and the hype that he brings to women's boxing is actually really remarkable and incredible, because he has changed the game for women's boxing. Unless you are a diehard boxing fan watching this, you have never heard of Amanda Serrano until she touched a Jake Paul card. And I'm gonna admit it, I never even known who Amanda Serrano was until she fought Jake Paul on that Tyron Woodley card. Until Jake Paul and Tyron Woodley fought on that card and she was in the co-main event slot. I never heard of Amanda Serrano, and she's one of the greatest of all time. But over the years, I went back and documented her career and watched the fights, watched her become undisputed. But women's boxing doesn't get this type of recognition without Jake Paul's help. So you got to give him his credit. And he put Most Valuable Promotions on, streaming live on Netflix for an all-women's card that featured Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano, Alicia Baumgartner in the co-main event, Savannah Marshall, Chantel Cameron, Sasha Green. If I said her name wrong, I apologize. But Green. All these women, and there's several undisputed fights and unified fights. You got to give him his credit for being a remarkable promoter, helping women's boxing grow. Because now they're on the map, they're here to stay, and you got to give Jake Paul his credit. Without Jake Paul, I don't think women's boxing would be here, and I definitely don't think the trilogy would have ever happened between Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano. Because if you document where each 3 of these fights happened, they happened at big-time venues. First fight happened in Madison Square Garden. Of course, Eddie Hearn being Katie Taylor's promoter, they worked together. So that fight. Second fight happened in Dallas, Texas, in the Dallas Cowboys Stadium. Then the third fight happened in Madison Square Garden. You got to give Jake Paul his credit for helping women's boxing grow. But before I close it off, what's the future like for these respective women? They're going to move away. I don't think there will be a fourth fight between Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano. So what's next for Katie Taylor? I think she has a fight to tend to in her own right. I think Katie Taylor has to tend to another trilogy, and that being the trilogy fight between herself and Chantel Cameron. Now, a trilogy, that should be a good one. And actually, the score is tied 1-1. Chantel Cameron won the first fight. Then Katie Taylor won the second fight, taking Chantel Cameron's undisputed super lightweight titles a few years ago. So Chantel Cameron is the only fighter to defeat Katie Taylor. Katie Taylor is the only fighter to defeat Chantel Cameron. I think this third trilogy fight, with Katie Taylor being 39 years of age, this could be her last fight, and she could go off possibly into the sunset, getting a fight in her home country of Ireland, fighting Chantel Cameron in an undisputed championship fight. That would be a classic 10 rounds of boxing. And if Katie Taylor is successful, you ride off successfully into the sunset with your 26th victory in your boxing career. I think that's the perfect fight for Katie Taylor moving forward. Now, as for the future for Amanda Serrano, I saw Alicia Baumgartner's comments after she won in the co-main event, calling for Katie Taylor after the fight. Now, Alicia Baumgartner was a little rusty. I mean, this was her second fight following the 2023 suspension from the sport of boxing for PEDs. So I think Alicia Baumgartner still needs to not chase Katie Taylor, but I think she should chase the loser of this fight and chase Amanda Serrano. Now, this fight makes sense. Both are world champions, and it would probably feature Amanda Serrano probably going to 130 to challenge Alicia Baumgartner for her titles. And the story is there for Amanda Serrano to possibly become a two-time undisputed champion, two different weight classes. Meanwhile, the story is there for Alicia Baumgartner to prove to us that she's still got it and to possibly pick up the biggest win of her career. Plus, both of these respective fighters are signed with Jake Paul on their most valuable promotions. I think this fight would be absolute banger. And both are explosive, powerful punchers. Both have great boxing IQs. Both like the fight coming forward. Both like the exchange bombs in the pocket. I think this would be a tremendous fight to have next in women's boxing between Alicia Baumgartner and Amanda Serrano. They're big enough to headline and main event their own respective card. If I was Jake Paul, I would think about this in the back of my head to run this at some point in 2026. But that is my Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano fight summary.